Welcome dear students and viewers in this 14th lecture on Python programming. And in the previous class we had discussed recursion, and I had told you about direct recursion, indirect recursion, how recursion actually happens, which are the different components of a sensible recursion. I had told you the meaning of sensible and insensible recursion, and I had told you that in an insensible recursion there is no base case, there is no termination condition. The function keeps on repeating itself repeatedly. Okay, it never terminates. At the end it actually terminates because of the error message, but that is not a genuine case of termination. That is not considered to be termination actually. So it should terminate, and if it terminates eventually, then it is referred to as sensible recursion. So all those concepts we had seen in the last class, and I had ended my lecture with few programs based on recursion. Now in this class we will see some more programs which I had given assignment to you also. For example, computing factorial of a number, and another program I will not yet discuss because it is bit complicated, and I will discuss it in some other lecture. But today I will give you one assignment also, and so the previous program and this program must be completed by the next lecture. You try to complete it, and in this particular lecture many concepts will become more clear to you as we discuss all these four programs. Okay, so to begin with, before we start, let me tell you one thing, that when you are defining a base case, for example, let me write a function fun1. Let's see the same function for computing sum of first n natural numbers. So what we were doing is that we were writing that if n equal to 0, then you should return, if n is equal to 1, then you should return 1. So this is your base case. I have told you that this is your base case or the termination condition. Now the thing is that when we are mentioning this base case, when we are defining this base case must be reachable. Okay, this base case must happen. If it does not happen, then there is no meaning of this base case, then your recursive function will become insensible. Okay, so in order to make it sensible, you should define a base case. That is the first thing, and this base case must be reachable also. Okay, so that I forgot to mention in the previous class. So the base case, essential point to note is that the base case must be reachable, and that is kind of obvious, because if it is not reachable, then it is not base case actually, it is not termination condition, because this condition is never going to be met, and if it is not going to met, then definitely it is not going to return anything, it is never going to terminate. So the base case or the termination condition must be reachable. Okay, that is one thing. Another point to that I will tell you. Okay, so let's first discuss the program, and then I will tell you what I am trying to say. So let's see this recursive program to print hello 5 times, and I had given you this one also as assignment. So let's define a function and call it as hello itself, print hello, so that it looks more genuine. So your function name is print hello, and you want to print it some number of times. So some of you have submitted it correctly, but you have used quite a lengthy process, and you should not do it like that. So let me define a very short process for it, that how you will be actually doing. Now whenever you are trying to write a recursive function, as I had told you in the last class also, that you should first think of the base case and then you should think of the recursive case. Okay, now the thing is that you want to print it n number of times. For example, in this case you want to print it 5 number of times. So the essential point to note is that you will be passing that particular value, that how many times you are going to print hello. Now when it should stop printing, it should stop printing when this value of n becomes 0, isn't it? That will be your termination condition, that will be your base case, that once this n becomes 0, then it should terminate. Okay, so in that case what it should do nothing actually. Okay, it should do nothing. So you have two options: either you can write simply return, okay, or you should write pass. I had told you about the pass statement, that pass means nothing. Okay, so if n becomes equal to 0, if the count of printing hello becomes equal to 0, that means you do not want to print hello anymore. So in that case what it should do nothing, and it should simply return. Okay, it should simply return to the main, or to the previous function call, actually to the previous function call. Okay, so if n equal to 0, then it should pass. Otherwise what it should do, it should simply print hello. It should print hello, and then another thing is that it should not stop at this point of point, because this is not a recursive function. Okay, as you can see that there is no function call to itself, so it should print hello, but after that, as you might have guessed by now, that it should again call print hello, but this time not with the value n, but instead n minus 1. Okay, so as you can see that this particular function call print hello is including a function call to the body of this particular function print hello, is including a function call to itself, and that is why it is a recursive function. Okay, and now what you are doing, so how it will get executed, first you will pass 5, it will check that n is not equal to 0, so it will simply move to this else part, it will print hello once. Okay, and then again it will call print hello with the value 4. Again it will check, this condition will not get satisfied, again it will print hello, again it will call print hello with the value 3. Again it will pass, next time it will again print hello and call it with the value 2. Okay, so print hello 2 will be called, and again the value of n is not equal to 0, so it will print hello, and this time it will call print hello with 1, and again it will not be 0, so it will print hello, and finally it will become 0. So the last function call will be print hello 0, and as soon as print hello 0 will be called, this particular condition will be satisfied, and here you can see that there is a pass statement. That means you need not do anything, you simply pass, you simply ignore, and you just return to the previous function call. So its execution will be over, and the control will be returned to the previous function call, and subsequently to the previous function calls, and eventually the control will go to the main. So that is how its execution will occur. I guess you can write its diagram, you can draw its diagram also, that how its execution will take place. That is up to you, you can try yourself that how its execution is taking place. In the last class I had shown you the execution part, and you try to draw the diagram for it. Important, one more thing to note here is that in the previous examples I had mentioned about return statement. You might tell that why you are not using return statement in this case. So this is a very important thing to understand, that in previous cases what was actually happening is that, for example, I had told you, I had given you, okay, so first let me run this program and then I will come to this point. So let me run this print hello program with the parameter 5, and as per our opinion it should print hello 5 times, isn't it? So let me run this, and you can see that this is printing hello 5 times on your screen. Okay, so that's okay, but the thing that I want to make you understand out here is that in the previous example, for example in the case of summation of n numbers, summation of first n natural numbers, what you are doing, you are mentioning a return statement, but here I am not mentioning any return statement. Why? Because you see, when you are going to call this particular function print hello, you are not expecting any value from the next function call. Okay, for example, when you are printing the summation, what you are writing, n plus, and then you are writing, for example in this case, in that particular case you are writing compute of n minus 1, isn't it? You are writing print n plus compute n minus 1. So you are actually expecting a value from the next function call. Okay, and what was that value? That value was compute n minus 1, isn't it? That value was compute n minus 1. Without, if the next function call is not returning any value, then you will not be able to compute this particular value. But here in this case, when you are trying to print hello, then in this particular case you are actually not expecting anything, you are not expecting anything from the next function call. When the print hello, for example, you are passing 5 to it, then you are not expecting anything from print hello 4, you just want to print hello. Okay, you do not want any value from the next function call. That is why I did not mention any return statement. Okay, if you are expecting any value, for example in the case of x to the power n also, you are expecting a value for x to the power n minus 1. Okay, when you are calling with the value n, you are expecting a value for x to the power n minus 1. Okay, so but here you are not expecting any value, you simply want to print hello, and then you want to call with a less value, with the value n minus 1 less than the original value. Okay, so that it prints value hello n minus 1 times more. Okay, so that's the case. I hope you understand the idea that why I am not using any return statement. Okay, if you want you can mention it, it won't make any difference. Okay, but you should not mention any redundant thing. If it is not required, why you should mention it? Okay, if you are not expecting anything from the next function call, why you should mention a return statement? That's the point that I am trying to make you understand. But anyway, so this is how the execution will take place. And if you didn't get this concept that why I am not returning this value, I will discuss it when we will meet in the class. Okay, then at that point I think I will be better able to teach you that why it is actually happening. But or if you didn't understand it, I can take another class on it about the return statement itself. Okay, so let's see some more programs. The next program is that you have to write a recursive program to check if a number is even. Okay, so to understand it, first think that if I am giving you a number, for example 7, then how you will check whether it is even or odd. What you will do is that you can think of different concepts. For example, if it was not recursion, that you could have simply divided it by 2 and you could have checked the remainder. If the remainder was 1, then it would have become odd, and if the remainder was 0, then it would have become an even number. Okay, so that's the very basic concept. But here you should not do it directly. It is asking you for a recursive function. So how will you write it? Okay, so let me write the function name first. The recursive function is check even. Okay, and then you are passing a number n to it. Now what is the idea behind it? You just try to understand it, that when I am giving a number, suppose 7, so how you can check it? You can repeatedly subtract 2 from it. Okay, you can repeatedly subtract 2 from it, and when you subtract 2 from it, what you will get? 5. Now again, what the number that you are getting, you again subtract 2 from it and you will get 3. Now again you subtract 2 from it, what you will get? 1. So the essential idea is that if you keep on subtracting 2 and you will get, if you get 1 at the end, then the number is odd. But if you take an even number, for example you take 6, so what you will get? 6 minus 2 equal to 4. Again you subtract 2 from it. That's how actually division takes place. Okay, so you are actually keep on dividing it by 2, and if you get a remainder 0, if you get at the end 0, then that means it is an even number. Otherwise it is an, if you get 1, then that means it is a odd number. Okay, so again you subtract 2 from it, so what you will get? 2. Now again you get 2, and from 2 you subtract 2, so you will get 0. So at the end you are getting 0. That's why 6 is an even number, whereas in the case of 7 you keep on subtracting 2 from it, and if you get 1 at the end, since you get 1 at the end, so 7 is an odd number. So that is how you will check for an even and odd number. And you can see that you are repeating a same process again and again. You are repeatedly subtracting 2, and that is why it is making it recursive. Okay, so let's see this concept through the program now. So what will be the base case? When will you stop subtracting 2 from a number? You will stop when the number becomes 0 or the number becomes 1. So these two will be your base cases. Okay, so if n equal to 0, then that means the number must have been an even number. Okay, so you should print a message that number is even, isn't it? And if so what is another thing? What is the another condition? What is another base case? The another base case is that n will become 1 eventually. So in that case, what should you print? You should print number is odd. Okay, now in all other cases, I hope but by now you must have guessed, in all other cases what you will do, you will call this function. Okay, you do not want any value to be returned. Again you can see that I am not using any return statement in the else part, in the recursive case. Okay, why I am not using any return statement? Because you do not want any value to be returned. You simply want to subtract the number by 2, and you keep on checking if it is equal to 0 or if it is equal to 1. After subtraction, if it is equal to 0, or after subtraction if it is equal to 1. Unless it becomes either equal to 0 or 1, you keep on subtracting 2 from it. Okay, so that's why I have not used any return statement. You are not expecting any value from the next function call. Okay, that's why I have not used any return statement. Now, so what you will write? You just call with the check even n minus 2. So that is how it will check whether it is even or odd. Now you just call this function check even, and with some value. For example, so let's call this function check even. And how will you call it? So you just outside the function you just write check even, and if you want to check whether so for example 17 is odd or even, so it should print the message that number is odd. Okay, so let's see the output, and it is number is odd. It is giving the message, it is giving the correct output. And let me check it for a larger number, for example 216. So it must give that number is even. So this is perfectly fine. I hope you got the concept how the execution is taking place. Okay, and the important thing to note here is that this is your, the first important thing is that this is your first base case. Okay, and you can see that these base cases are reachable. Okay, they must be reachable, as I mentioned in the beginning, that if the base cases are not reachable, then there is no meaning of base case. Okay, there is no meaning of termination condition if it is, if that particular condition is not being met. Okay, now this is your recursive case, what you have mentioned in the else part, that is recursive case. You can try other way also, that is up to you, but I guess that is the shortest way to do it, that is the most efficient way to check whether a number is even or odd. Okay, so I hope you got this idea that why I am not using return statement. Again, I am telling you that when you are for example, when you are taking a, let's take a small number, suppose 6. So in the next function call, what you are going to check, that whether 4 is even or odd. Okay, first you will check whether 6 is even or odd, so you are not able to reach any conclusion. So what you are going to check, whether 4 is even or odd, but you are not expecting any value from the next function call. Okay, you are not expecting any value. Okay, you simply want to test whether 4 is 0, 4 is meeting any of these base cases or not. Next time you want to check whether 2 is going to meet any of these base cases or not. Next time you are going to check whether 0 is going to satisfy this condition or not, and since it is satisfying this condition, it will print the message number is even, and it will return to its previous function calls. Okay, and finally it will return actually nothing. I have told you that even if the function is not returning anything, it is actually returning none. So it will actually return none to its previous function calls, and finally the none value will be returned to the main. Okay, so no need to mention any return statement, and no need to mention the return statement in this recursive case in the else part. Okay, so let's see the next program. The next program is that you want to print reverse of a string. Again, here you won't use any return statement in the else part. You just want to print reverse of a string. So how you will do, you will pass a string first. Let's suppose that I am let's change the name of the function. So the name of the function, let's suppose it becomes reverse of n, and what you will write, so you just write here reverse now. The thing is that when you will pass a string, suppose I am passing India, so what it will do, that you have to think of the base cases and recursive cases, and that's how your job will be done. So when will it reach the base case? It will reach the base case when it will come to this I part, this capital I part. Okay, so what you can do is that you can also pass the index of this particular string. Okay, so let's suppose that the index is I. Okay, and here you pass the last index because you want to start from the last. Okay, or let's make it look more better. You ask for the string from the user. Okay, and so you are asking a string from the user, and then what you can do is that you can pass s, and you can pass the index of the last character. Okay, so for example, if you pass India, okay, so if you pass India, the index of the last character will be how much? 4. Okay, so sorry, yes, 4, because the length is 5, and so the index of the last character will be 4. So you will be essentially passing the string India and the index 4, and now your job is to define the base case. When will it reach the base case? Okay, so it will reach base case when this I becomes equal to 0. At the starting, the value of I will be 4. Okay, so let me define it for India. So at the beginning, your n will be what? N will be India. Okay, and I will be how much? I will be equal to 4. Now when you have to stop, when this value of I becomes equal to 0. So if I equal to 0, okay, in that case you have to stop, but in that case also you have to print what? You have to print the ni, sorry, you have to print ni. N is your string. Okay, so let me take it s only, it will look more better. Okay, so in that case also you have to print that particular character, isn't it? You have to print the last character and then you have to terminate. Okay, so you do not mention anything, that means it is going to terminate after that. It is not going to return, it is actually going to return none. It is going to print the last character and then it is going to return to the previous function call. Okay, now let's see the what will be the else part. In the else part also, if it is not the base condition, suppose if it is at the last, for example in the beginning, what will be the value of I? It will be 4, so it will essentially print A. In that case also you have to print what? You have to print Si. But the next thing is that after printing Si, what you should do, that you should again call this reverse function. Okay, but this time the index must be decreased, isn't it? The index must be decreased. This time it must become equal to I minus 1. So first it will print what? It will print 4, that is A. Okay, first the index position is 4, so it will print A. Next time again what will happen? Okay, so let's see the execution of this particular thing. So okay, but first let me execute this program and show it to you that it is perfectly fine. So I will take the string as India and you can see that it is giving AIDNI. I will tell you how to give it in the same line, but before that let's see the execution of it, how it is getting executed. First you are giving India as the input, so at the beginning the index is your 4, isn't it? At the beginning index is 4. So what it will do, that this if part is not getting satisfied, that is the base case is not getting satisfied, so what it will print? It will print A. Okay, and then you can see that you are again calling the reverse function, but this time the value of I is decremented to 3. Okay, so next time you are passing the same string, but this time the index value is 3. Okay, so what it will where it will go, again it will call this function, it will not meet this if part, it will come to this else part, and this time the value of I is 3. So what it will print? S3. So S3 is how much? I. Okay, so it will print I also, and then again it will go here, this part will become 2. Okay, so you are again calling with the same string, but this time you are which one you are going to print? The second one. Okay, again it will come to the else part and it will print S2, that is it will print D, and again it will call the reverse function, but this time the index value will be 1. Okay, so the index value will be 1, that means the if part is not again satisfied, it will come to the else part, it will print N, and again it will call the reverse function, but this time with the value equal to 0. And when it becomes 0, then it will print simply I and it will return back. It will not call the reverse function again, so it will return to the previous function call, and that again will return to its previous function call. It will keep returning to the previous function call, and finally it will reach the main, and the output will be the output is already displayed, because in the if part and the else part you had already printed the output, so nothing will get printed again, and finally the output, the desired output you will be obtained. Okay, but the thing is that you are not getting the reverse in the same line. Okay, so what you should do, I had told you about the end thing. So you want to print it in the same line, you do not want a new line after print statement. So what you should mention, you should mention end equal to a blank. Okay, so it will be printing all the characters in the same line in the reverse order. Okay, so let's run this program again, and let me type India, and you can see that it is giving the opposite of it, the reverse of it in the same line. Okay, so I hope you got the concept. Again you can see that here I have not mentioned any return statement. Okay, I have not mentioned any return statement. Why I have not mentioned? Because again you are not expecting anything from the next function call. You are simply passing a string to it, and you want it's one of the characters to be printed. You do not want anything to be returned actually. Okay, so that's why I have not mentioned any return statement in it. Okay, so let's see the next program, and that is about computing factorial of a number. The very simple program, and most of you have done also, but let me discuss it for the sake of discussion. So in the case of factorial, by now you must have guessed. Okay, so let me take a new program. I will define a factorial function and I will pass a number n to it. Now in this particular case, what will be the base condition, what will be your base case when the value of n becomes equal to 1? In that particular case, what should the function return? It should actually return 1. In all other cases, you now see that I am using a return statement. Why? Because in this case, for example, if you are writing factorial of 5, so how you can write it? You can write it as 5 into factorial of 4, isn't it? So when you are making a recursive function call, you are actually expecting some value from it. You are actually expecting a value from the next function call, that is fact4. When you will be calling this factorial function again with the value 4, you will be actually expecting a value, and that value will be multiplied with this 5, and then the final value you will obtain. So since we are expecting a value, that's why you will be using return statement. Okay, so let's mention this here. So what will be the else part? You are expecting a value from the next function call. Okay, so what you will write? Return n into, and then you will call the same function. Okay, factorial. That's why it is recursive. You are calling the same function but with a lesser value. This time you will call with n minus 1. Okay, so this is your recursive case, and this particular value n equal to 1 is your base case, and your job is done. So what you should print? You should call this factorial function. Okay, now since it is returning some value, you should use a print statement before, so that whatever value is being returned, that should get printed. Okay, so let me use it with 5, print factorial 5 for example, and it should give you the value 120. Okay, so let me run this particular thing, and you can see that the expected output is getting obtained. So this is very easy thing. The only confusion might be with the return, that in some cases you will be using return, in some cases you will not be using return, and I hope by now it must be clear to you that when you should actually use return, when you are expecting a value from the next function call. Okay, when you will call this factorial function again, this will return some value, and that value will be multiplied with the n. Okay, again, so if you so how its execution will take place? Let's say that I am passing the value 5, so the control will come here. Okay, now your assignment is that you have to show the execution of this particular factorial function. Okay, so you will show me the execution part of it, that how the values are getting returned. I had shown it for the summation thing, for the summation program. You have to show it for factorial. Okay, and for the first program also, in which I had told you to print hello 5 times. Okay, so for both the programs you have to show me how the execution is taking place with the help of the diagram, as I had shown it for the summation case. Okay, what is actually happening is that first time it is calling with the 5, and it is going to the else part. Okay, but it will not be able to return anything. Okay, why? Because although this particular value is available, this factorial 4 is not yet available. Okay, so what it will do? Again it will call the factorial function with the value 4. Okay, and again what will be the body of the factorial 4? It will be 4 into factorial of 3. Again it will not be able to return. Okay, it will keep on calling the factorial function again and again, and finally it will meet this condition. The value of n will become 1. That particular function call will return the value 1, and it will keep on getting computed, and finally the final value will be returned to the main part, and that final value will be 120. That will be printed in the main. So I hope you are aware of this concept, how this execution takes place. I had shown you in the first class. Okay, so you just show me its execution and I will check it. So you draw the diagram for it. Okay, so that's it for today, and another assignment is that you have to try to write the program for Fibonacci series. Okay, so you have to print the Fibonacci. You have to first write a recursive program to print only the nth term. For example, so what is a Fibonacci series? It essentially starts with 0. So the first term is 0, the next term is 1, and what is the third term? It will be summation of 1 and 0. So it will be basically 1. Now what will be the fourth term? It will be sum of 1 and 1, the sum of the previous two terms. Okay, so it will be 2. Again the next term will be the sum of the previous two terms, that is equal to 3. Okay, and what will be the next term? Sum of the previous two terms, that is equal to 5. So it will keep on going like this. Now your job is to print the nth term. The n could be anything. For example, if it is 5, if you want to print the fifth term, then it should actually print 3. If you want to print suppose sixth term, then it should print 5. Okay, so that's how you have to write a recursive program to print the nth term of the Fibonacci series. Very simple. And again it will use, in the recursive case you will use a return statement, because you will be expecting a value from the next function call. Okay, so let me see. So there are basically 3 assignments for you. One is to show execution of this first program, another is for this factorial part, and then you have to do this particular assignment. And after this lecture, I hope you got the concept that how to write the base cases, recursive cases. I hope these concepts became more clear to you. And by now you must have realized that The only thing is that you have to realize that how to write the base cases and how to write the recursive case. That is what your, that is where your intelligence lies, that is where you have to think of. Okay, so that's it for today. Let's meet in the next class. Thank you.